Toyota and the famous P valve caper. It's not really a caper, it's a crisis that really happened. And you recall, I told you about Japanese auto manufacturers. They have some of the most brilliant planning and response rates of almost any corporation. It seems to be part of their general nature as a culture to sit down there and do good planning, and they do very well. And Toyota is number one because of part of the planning we'll talk about right here. They had a sole supplier of brake fluid, and it had 98% of all the brake fluid valves. And it's a cheap little thing, only about $7 a piece, but every car needs to have brakes. I mean, you need to stop the car somehow. So this cheap little part, it's just a valve that makes certain you have the right amount of fluid going to the brake lines. What's the big deal? Well, the big deal without it, you just can't stop. Okay, so that being said, all of a sudden a fire wiped out the main factory, and all of a sudden it took 2 weeks to start production, 6 months of complete inventory control. And by the way, remember, I told you how smart Toyota was once upon a time. Just in time inventory, JIT. They would sit down there and they would have almost no inventory inside their main plant. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. All the suppliers surrounded their main plant and everything else. But this cheap little brake part, who needed it right next door to the main plant? You didn't need that. You can get that pretty easily. It's not that expensive. It's not a big deal, except it's a sole source, and 98% of all your P valves come from that one plant, and the plant doesn't exist. All of a sudden now, Toyota's sitting there panicking because of the fact it's going to take 2 weeks to restart production and 6 months of complete recovery. What are we going to do? 15,500 vehicles a day are being made, and some of them are missing brakes. Other than that, it's no big deal. You just sell it to them and say, we'll get the brake fluid to you sometime later on, 4 or 5 months down the line. It's no big deal. You just because you can't stop the car, put your foot up. Maybe you can stop there. Get really heavy duty tennis shoes. You can stop your car that way. That sales pitch didn't work very well. By the time it was all meant just in time, meant 2 to 3 days of inventory supply, and that was it. Because the goal of just in time is to reduce inventory, and you know already that inventory reduction is a major part of all supply chain management. Toyota, they responded fast. Blueprints of the valve sent out among all their suppliers, engineers. They relocated to suppliers' facilities from the actual P valve plant. Other manufacturers like Brother also bought in. Existing machinery was adapted to build valves according to original specs. They demanded that everybody sit down there and participate. If you didn't, you're going to be cut off out of their supply chain altogether. And those people didn't want that because they were making lots of money. New machinery acquired in the spot market within days. Firms with almost no experience in PVO manufacturing at all, they're making them and delivering parts to Assen. By the time it was all of them, they assembled, inspected the valve before shipment to Toyota, and about 200 suppliers were involved. 200 suppliers, and the bulk of them had no idea what a P valve even did, let alone what it took to make them. And they didn't make a lot of money. They're still $7 a piece. But that being said, they certainly incurred the favor of Toyota long term because they were a team player in that recovery effort. By the time it was all done, it looked like a $65 million problem to Assen, and it was $1.3 billion to Toyota. The damage reduced by the time it was all done by $250 million in extra shifts and overtime, and they issued a $100 million token of appreciation to providers as a gift for their collaboration. And listen, I wish I was one of those suppliers. There should have been a nice little bonus check, in the holiday season. But by the time it was all done, Toyota insisted on working together as a team. Read the detail of this case. It's important. It also is something to aspire to, especially if you're in that world of risk management, or whether or not you're in risk management, because risk management is part of all supply chain. Single sourcing is risky business. While you have it, you can achieve economies of scale. You can get those P valves down to $7 a piece. Maybe you're better off paying $9 a piece for them and making certain there's 2 or 3 factories that make the same thing. You get high quality parts at a low cost because of single sourcing. Just in time, it's spectacular. It creates a culture of working with low inventories, which sometimes is a problem. Low inventories, it's beautiful, except when it's not. just in time, identify and fix problems quickly. The entire supply chain was stopped once the fire occurred and prompted every company to react to the challenge. And to be frank, if Toyota had insisted on stopping everybody to help them address this problem, they would have just kept on cranking things. Well, it's not my problem, not my problem, not my problem, except Toyota made it everybody's problem. And then miraculously, they all chipped in. Think about the aspect. Think about the speculative strategies you can have. Think about the hedge strategies, what you can do to sit down in case this happened. What about flexible strategies? It takes a lot of thinking, a lot of process. A company bets on a single scenario, that's wonderful. Sometimes there's a lot of problems with it. So by the time you're looking at the different aspects, the Japanese automakers, they bet that the exchange rate benefits, rising productivity would offset labor costs. They built plants overseas later on when this equation changed, because all of a sudden they started paying their workers so much for producing high quality vehicles. They wanted to make certain they had labor in other markets to offset that. They weren't putting all their eggs in one basket in Japan. They started moving their baskets around and having multiple baskets with multiple eggs. That way they can sit down there and always hatch some new manufacturing. I thought you would catch the pun. Anyway, losses in part of the supply chain be offset by gains in another. Volkswagen, they have multiple plants in different countries. If you catch the pun, the plants is on the picture. Anyway, certain plants are more profitable at times than others. Sometimes you want to have that different aspect of it. You almost had a certain sense of internal competition between them, and you want to move production between the plants to be successful overall and put the stress in different aspects. And sometimes that stress from a risk management perspective really helps an awful lot. It helps you take advantage of different types of scenarios. What if this is gone? What if this is gone? Can this company pick up the slack doing this one aspect over here? Factories need to be designed to be flexible if at all possible. Factors to consider: is there enough variability in the system to justify the use of flexible strategies? Do the benefits in spreading production justify the cost? Does the company have coordination and management? Pay attention to Toyota. A brilliant strategy in the way it shut down everything, and everybody had to kick in and work as a team to help them with their P valve crisis. Think about different strategies and try them through strategic planning reviews and see if your company is on track for having some brilliant strategies. Take care.